With It Welcome to Derry being a prequel to the recent It movies directed by Andy Muschietti, I thought that, for the occasion, I could rewatch one of my favorite horror movies of all time, It 2017, and I wanted to overview this movie with you guys. So, here we are today. Now, enough yapping said, let's start this video. Spoilers alert for It 2017. The movie starts in October of the year 1988, which is different from the book because originally the story takes place firstly between 1957 and 1958. But here, I guess they wanted the story to be closer to our time period, so the characters could use smartphones in the second movie. But anyways, Bill builds a boat for his younger brother Georgie so he can play with it outside after getting this weird walkie-talkie jump scare. Georgie goes outside to play with the boat, while Bill stays inside because he's sick. After bumping his head on a road barricade, he meets a clown that lives in the sewers. Because what clown wouldn't do that? While he tries to get his boat back from the clown, Georgie gets pranked and loses his arm. But the clown is not done with him, so he pulls off this slick move and takes the rest of Georgie's body in the sewers with him. We then meet Mike, a sheep farmer, and some other kids who seem to have fun talking about circumcision in public spaces.
They sliced the tip of his dick off.
We also meet Beverly, who is getting bullied in the most disgusting way possible, and Ben, who has a crush on Bev. We then go back to Mike, who is facing his biggest nightmare: people burning inside a building while calling his name for help. We then go back to one of the kids who previously talked about circumcision, Stanley. He is the son of the rabbi of Derry, and while putting the Torah back in the library, he faces a scary lady who looks like she got run over by a bus. In the meantime, Bill, Richie, and Eddie, the other kids that were interested in circumcision, are packing up to go play outside, but as soon as they're about to leave, Eddie's mom stops them and wants a kiss from her son. During this time, in the town's library, Ben, the simp from earlier, confronts a guy with no head that starts to run towards him in the goofiest way possible. While he leaves the library, he gets snatched by the town's bullies and gets his belly cut. He's able to escape this situation by doing a kickflip on Henry and running away from the bullies. At the same time, not too far from where Ben just was, 4 of our protagonists try to enter the Barrens. But Eddie gets scared because, like he says, it's basically piss and shit. Richie then makes an inappropriate joke.
How do you think Betty feels? Running around these tunnels with only one friggin' shoe?
And they meet Ben, who was running away from the bullies earlier. One of these bullies in question then gets killed by Pennywise. Our 5 losers then go to a pharmacy to try to get stuff to heal Ben's wounds. Inside the store, they cross paths with Beverly, who was just trying to buy tampons, but she decides to help them get away with their theft. These kids are literally the worst shoplifters ever. Can we also mention how weird this scene was? Like, damn, get Chris Hansen here right away.
What do you think?
Well, how about that?
When Beverly goes back home, she gets confronted by her old man because she bought tampons, which, let me remind you, is caused by a certain natural phenomenon that ladies have to go through from a young age. She then gets sad and decides to cut her hair spontaneously. Later on, our 5 losers from earlier decide that they want to jump off a cliff and land in the water under them, but they are too scared to jump, which leaves us, the viewers, hanging on an awkward scene of young naked boys staring at the water. But suddenly, Beverly comes out of nowhere and decides to jump, which finally convinces them to jump too. Because if they didn't jump, that would mean that they got shown up by a girl. After discovering their sexuality, they decide to go to Benz's house. There, they discover Benz's obsession with the town's history, as you can see by looking at the walls. But most importantly, his obsession with New Kids on the Block. After that, Eddie heads home, but drops his med accidentally and then gets confronted by this thing. Turns out Eddie also sees Pennywise and he asks him to join him, but he then disappears. Beverly then hides in the bathtub to read a poem from a secret admirer. Spoiler alert, it's from Ben, the biggest simp of them all. She hears voices coming down from the sink. She then looks at the hole in the sink, but gets splashed Nickelodeon style. Turns out when her father enters the bathroom, he doesn't see the blood everywhere, so Bev thinks she's going crazy. In the meantime, Bill goes into his basement and sees Georgie. Turns out it's just silly old Pennywise making a prank once again. The losers go to Beverly's house to help her clean up the blood inside the bathroom because, as it turns out, they all see it on the contrary to her father. Bill and Bev then get a moment just for them in the bathroom while Ben gets heartbroken watching them flirting with each other. Hashtag I am Ben. While they walk away from Baby's place, they all start to relate on the fact that they all saw something weird about a clown, except Richie, for some reason. We then see Mike, who we haven't seen for like 40 million years now, getting bullied by Henry and his friends. So they decide to go help him and they start a rock war. After saving Mike and inviting him into the Losers Club, they talk about the town's curse, and they then try to figure out where it all connects. They find out that it all connects to this weird-looking house where Eddie confronted the clown earlier. Pennywise then decides to crash the party once again and do one of his little pranks. After this weird event, the losers decide to go to the abandoned house to find out what's going on there, but they get trapped into a prank spree. Pennywise once again plays tricks on these kids and makes them scared multiple times. Honestly, in these scenes, I think he was just aura farming. I think he's on the same level as Henry Cavill's Superman. But after aura farming for too long, the kids become able to damage him, which made him hide from them. The losers then realize that Eddie broke his arm and Richie tries to play doctor on him. They then run away from the house and bring Eddie back to his house, where his mother starts to scream at them, Karen style. The gang then gets into a fight and splits up for a couple of months. Also, can we mention this uncalled for insult from Richie towards Ben?
Look at this motherfucker! He's leaking hamburger helper!
When a good thing goes bad.
This movie is too comfortable with fat jokes. Time passes and Henry decides that he had enough with his dad. He then kills him because Pennywise played mind tricks with him, which made Henry want to kill all the members of the Losers Club. Later on, Beverly gets into a fight with her abusive dad and decides to strike him down. But then Pennywise kidnaps her, which reunites the Losers Club so they could save Beverly from the hands of this silly clown. The gang then goes back to the abandoned house and goes down into the well. Little did they know, Henry was here for revenge and started attacking Mike. But Mike fought back and Henry died? Probably? Who knows? In the meantime, Beverly wakes up and confronts Pennywise, who's aura farming as usual by throwing a Fortnite emote. While trying to run towards an exit, he takes her by the throat again, and seeing how not scared of him she is, he makes her look into his mouth. Yes, you heard that correctly. And she then gets hypnotized by his deadlights. Down in the sewers, Stanley faces the lady who looks like she's been run over by a bus, and she wants a taste of his face. The rest of the gang save him, but Bill sees Georgie and runs towards him, only to see Beverly float. But instead of trying to rescue her, he goes to have a little chat with Georgie, and so it's Ben who actually saves his crush by giving her a little kissy kiss. Bro literally took his chances without her knowing. Chat, is this a W-Riz moment? Anyways, back to Bill. He kills his already dead brother after becoming Dokes for a second.
You said I can have my boat back, Billy.
Was she fast?
I couldn't keep up with it.
She, Georgie. You call both she.
And Georgie then transforms into Pennywise, and the final battle starts. For some reason, Pennywise's strategy is to transform himself into some of the losers' fears, which creates moments like these.
Hey, Bevy, are you still my little...
After defeating him, the losers decide to promise to each other that if it isn't dead, they will come back to kill it once and for all, it being Pennywise. So, they make a blood pact. Bill and Beverly
Kiss.
again, hashtag I am Ben. And the movie ends with a new title, It Chapter 1. And so, that was my resume of the movie. Now, what did I think of it? I think this movie is honestly one of my favorite movies of all time, and I found it pretty scary too. I have watched the
90s.
adaptation before this one was released, and I honestly think that both of them are great adaptations, but they are very different from one another. This recent adaptation is really good in some aspects, like the horror part, the general tone, the cinematography, the sound design, and the acting. Especially Sophia Lillis interpreting Beverly. I found her really good in this movie. Not gonna lie to y'all, I never read the original book, so I can't tell you if this movie was book accurate or not, except for the time period part. Originally, the story takes place between 1957 and 1958, but here they decided to start the story in 1988, almost 30 years later. Anyways, I did enjoy my watch time of this first part of the two-part adaptation of the book. Some scenes, like Georgie's death, were really effective for me. And I think the horror scenes in this movie were not just some clip farming moments. They really had importance to the plot and didn't feel like some lazy slop to me. The relationships between the characters were also pretty good and felt developed throughout the events of the story. As a viewer, I felt attached to the protagonists and I felt emotions for them. The main antagonist of the movie, known as Pennywise, was also pretty menacing and had a serious impact on the mental journey of these characters. Bill Skarsgård also gave a nice version of the character on screen. He made him scarier and more insane. The only thing that disappointed me with his character is that he didn't give a friendly vibe at all. He was just looking scary all the time, which made some scenes like Georgie's death a bit unrealistic to me. If I was Georgie, I would have already run after 2 seconds. That aspect of the character is something that I think Tim Curry did better back in 1990. He looked friendly at first and then was menacing. Bill's interpretation is just scary, period. Also, during the first half of the movie, I think we lost Mike a bit for too long. He wasn't on screen for like an hour, which I find sad, honestly. Henry's character usage was also not impactful enough at the end. He was menacing during all of the movie, but when his moment to shine arrived, he got pushed off in like 10 seconds and disappeared for the rest of the movie. Now, I know that he is still alive and is going to be used in the second part, but his impact in this first movie wasn't damageable enough in my opinion. Something that I didn't like about this first part was how quick the ending was, leaving no space to show what impact the events of the movie had on the characters. It ended with a teaser for another movie, which I find a bit disappointing. But overall, I loved this movie and I would give it a 9 out of 10. What did you guys think of the movie? Tell me your opinion in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel. It really helps small channels like mine and I would appreciate it a lot. Leave a like or dislike if you want, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya!